This is the Thunder Bay Botanical Conservatory, opened in 1967 to celebrate Canada's centennial. It offers a bright and vibrant tropical conservatory featuring a diversity of plants sourced from all across the world. The conservatory doubles as a large greenhouse operation, and the staff who work there are responsible for growing, planting, and maintaining flower beds at all of the parks in Thunder Bay. The Waterfront Marina, Friendship Gardens, and Hillcrest Park are just some of the areas that the conservatory's staff work tirelessly to keep beautiful. The conservatory also plays an important role in promoting local insects, while simultaneously helping manage the rise of invasive species within our community. For the last 10 years, there's been a great deal of uncertainty surrounding the future of the conservatory, as it desperately needs repairs in order to keep its core services operational. This is an important community issue to address whether or not the conservatory is worth it to keep open. There's also been great debate regarding outsourcing the conservatory's services to the private sector, and even tearing down the greenhouses, which haven't been maintained properly since they were first put here. After numerous inquiries into closure and vigorous lobbying efforts by supporters within the community, our recent services report has once again asked us all this question: what should we do with the Botanical Conservatory?
It would be a shame to see this conservatory close, not only because I would lose my job, but I would miss all the colleagues that I work with. I love my job here. This is a great place to work. It keeps me young, healthy, active.
It's actually extremely frustrating that we continue to ask this question. What do we do with the conservatory? It was posed in a 2005 Citizen Satisfaction Survey, 2007, 2009, 2011, 2013, 2015, 2017, 2019, every single time. And it's come back to us that it's needed, it's wanted. We need to put some time and effort into this. And I don't see the will around the council table, either with this council or past council, to make anything happen.
How does it make you feel when someone says the conservatory should be shut down because it doesn't make enough money to pay for itself?
I feel that that's a perfectly valid opinion, and it's their opinion. There is no right or wrong opinion. Some people believe that the city should be run like a business. Some believe that it should fund things that are not money-making, and we do. To what level? That's up to the community.
Well, we'd have to shut down every facility in Thunder Bay because none of the facilities make money. The Canada Game Complex makes no money. All the arenas make no money. All the baseball diamonds don't make money. You name a facility in Thunder Bay from the city that makes money. Besides, the only ones I can think of is T-Baytel and Hydro, Synergy North.
How does it make you feel when you hear the conservatory is once again on the chopping block?
We've been living under that threat since I came here. Every time council changes, it seems like parks is the low-hanging fruit in the city of Thunder Bay. I get it. There's a lot of things that have to happen in the city. Pipes and pavement, it's a focus. Parks is always a soft, undervalued sort of a thing. There's a lot of parks in the city, a lot of green spaces, and people take it for granted that they're going to continue going on there. I find it frustrating, but at the same time, it's gotten so common that we're under the chopping block again. It's another hurdle that we have to go through.
I'm not surprised. I've been here working for the city for 34 years, and it seems that every few years we're up on the chopping block again. And coincidentally, it's always at election time.
Frustrated, angry, annoyed, pull your hair out with frustration. It is such an amazing facility. People worked hard to get it built 52 years ago. The city has done absolutely nothing to maintain it. They've done nothing to promote it. And so it's just so frustrating. It just appeals to so many people. Like, there's nobody who can't enjoy the facility. So it's very heartbreaking to hear it being on the chopping block again.
It impacts the operation quite a bit. The workers suffer through the comments that they get from in the media and from the public. Oh, we hear you're closing. It's a common phone call still from the last time. Are you open? Is a common question we get asked on the phone. We just continue to go through it. We improved the grounds out front to bring people in. We continue to improve the gardens that we go out in. We add new gardens. Sometimes we remove gardens that aren't doing so well, and we put them in other different places. It's a challenge, and I'm hoping that the challenge will continue.
I think it's really short-sighted, and I know that this has come up a lot. It makes me sad because the city seems to be pushed to cut anything that is beyond the core services, the sort of things that bring you joy and the sort of things that make this city unique and give us something to live here for. You know, I've lived in Toronto, I've lived in Winnipeg, and I love Thunder Bay. I moved back here because this is where I want to be, and it's all the little things about this city that make me love it, and the Conservatory is a big part of that.
The citizens need it. With us entering in a post-COVID world, we're going to be needing this facility even more now than ever, because science has proven that being around plants and being around an environment such as this actually benefits people who might be suffering from anxiety. And if there's anything that this has proven, is that a lot of people will be going ahead and suffering from anxiety from this event. So this has become more important now than ever.
I think the Conservatory is very unique in that there is no other place like it in Thunder Bay. It's not a place that would necessarily be taken up by the private industry. It is a place that we can all go and enjoy at zero cost to get in. I know that there are a lot of families that can't necessarily afford to travel somewhere, and it provides a reprieve and a break for them to be able to go there with their families. It's also a great place for seniors to hang out, especially if you're an avid gardener. I think it really hits a lot of points for people in Thunder Bay. I think when we look at community spaces, it's easy to point at something like the Conservatory and say, that doesn't generate any income. But very rarely do we point at a road and say, that doesn't generate income. Yet it's widely acknowledged that those roads have value and purpose to our society. I think putting money and energy into design of public space is extremely important to our mental well-being. So if we are in our private homes, in our garages, getting into our private vehicles, traveling to another private workplace, never interacting with our public space, it becomes foreign to us and it becomes very scary. And then that feeling of community actually diminishes. So if we put time and energy into spaces that people want to walk to, that people want to be in, that people feel safe in, I think it provides an overall value and people would want to move and live and work in Thunder Bay. Could we cut things? Absolutely. What does the public want? What's in the public's best interest? I think a best interest of the public is creating spaces that are welcoming and inviting and make people want to stay and live and feel happy and safe here.
It's nice to have public spaces like this. A lot of times, I know especially as a student, I don't always have money to go out to a restaurant or somewhere to eat with my friends. And having somewhere that's free, that's different than just hanging out at home, is really nice to kind of have somewhere to go and be a part of the community.
The place needs to be maintained, and we need a new place. You know, council acted on it. When I was on council, we voted unanimously, for those who may not remember, unanimously, to make that priority number one. For any new funding that the city would receive, it would go to the Conservatory, because we provided the capital asset list of our priorities. And so we voted. There's a recorded vote. To me, I would still vote the same way because of all the things that, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in Thunder Bay in maintaining our capital infrastructure. But the Conservatory is a unique one, just because it's like the Canada Games Complex. It's a gathering place for the community. Even though you bring these outside consultants from time to time to tell you, we should have shut down the Canada Games Complex and build the 2 or 3 smaller ones across the city, I'm going, where are you coming from? We have to understand what Thunder Bay is, what Thunder Bay needs. Thunder Bay needs a conservatory.
As president of QP87, what do you say to a city employee who is fearful that their job will be cut?
That's a tough one. Because there's no certainties. So for the full-time staff, I would tell them we'll find you a home. You'll be okay. I know you love your position. I know you care. I know you're going to be devastated with the change because of everything you've put into those positions. The full-time employees have all been there a long time. To the seasonal employees, I would say we'll do the best we can to find you a home, but you have no guarantees, and we can't promise that your family's going to know where their bills are going to be paid or not. And that's a very tough, gut-wrenching conversation to even think about having, forget to actually have.
Everyone here now wants to be here. There are going to be people that move out of these positions here because they want full-time work in the city of Thunder Bay. I understand that. But we're going to continue to hire people here who have a horticulture background. My employees are great people here. I stick up for them all the time. I'm very proud of what they do. They want to be here. They do a great job, and it shows.
When city workers retire and I have a project going on, I'm going to hire them. And I'll tell you why. They're well trained. They know all about health and safety. And honestly, they do a fantastic job. And I've hired ex-city workers who retired to do other jobs, and to me, they perform extremely well. Private sector is tough nowadays. Hiring people is tough because every single business I seem to talk to is looking for people. They say to me, I need people to work. I need good people who are going to show up every day, do their work, not complain. But overall, when I look at the quality of work done by the city workers, honestly, I think they're amazing. They do a fantastic job. And I'm not saying this to make them feel better. It's just it's a fact, period.
Effective today, the conservatory will be closed to the general public as it relates to some health and safety concerns, as it relates to some glass panes that have been falling. So effective immediately, the closure will take place to the general public as administration does our due diligence to review our options.
What about the glass damage that has happened over the past, how long, I guess, and how many panes have fallen?
Well, panes have fallen, or parts of the panes have fallen over the last short period of time, up until the last year, where different, 6 to 10 panes have fallen. But more recently, the duration between those panes falling have been more expedited. So,
back in 2012, when the conservatory was first closed due to the falling glass, what was your initial reaction to that?
Well, I was sad, first off, because I'll be honest with you, because the conservatory had it's now been just over 50 years old. So, and it's been an attraction for our community. All I kept thinking was how sad that we are at the point after 50 years, it wasn't quite 50 years at that point in time, but close to, that it's now falling apart. And we haven't put the dollars into it to make sure that it was going to stay and be where it needed to be. So that made me unfortunately, as I said, sad. That's the only thing. That was my initial reaction.
Well, first of all, it was a health and safety issue. We were told as council, which, once you hear health and safety, you have to err on that side. Anybody comes to you and says health and safety, okay, everyone stop, let's investigate, etc., etc. So full stop right away because, everyone's unsure, right?
We got the news one morning when we came to work, and it just happened to be on Valentine's Day of all days. One of the general managers came in to the conservatory and says that there had been a piece of fallen glass and that we were now dangerous to the public safety. None of our workers, who are the ones that are here the most, ever noted breaking glass to myself or anyone. And when I asked Who told them? Manager said that the mayor had gotten a call relating to the glass. But when I approached the mayor, he said he had not gotten a call at all.
No, never had. I've heard different reasons for somebody saying that, but any staff member that I have talked to never actually saw the glass, any issues with the glass at all. So everybody's kind of perplexed why that came out, and I think my own personal opinion is that city council or city administration was trying to find any way they could to close it, and for whatever reason they kind of sunk their teeth into this excuse and ran with it.
After the overwhelming level of support from the community and an intense debate that lasted hours and included 6 presentations outlining the importance of the conservatory, the decision to keep the facility open was made.
I was there, and I don't know if it was heated or not. Maybe it could have been controversial in a sense that, people were trying to figure out, what is the future of the conservatory? Are we going to spend money, etc.? In other words, we're saying no. But I know my position was, I wasn't crazy about rebuilding it. I wanted a brand new one, personally. I thought that was a good idea. You could have incorporated a lot more. Okay, so I think there was an internal struggle about rehabilitate the one that you have right now or build a new one. And I think one of the stumbling blocks for a lot of people was there was a hesitancy to give up some of the plants that are there right now, because if they took those out, they wouldn't be able to get them back.
It was a big relief. Those of us that ended up forming the Friends of the Conservatory had been involved in helping the other group get the petitions and things done. So we were very relieved when they decided to reopen it. We contacted some of the key members from that group and some of the members from the now Friends of the Conservatory. And basically we decided that, okay, we've got it open again. How are we going to keep it open? How are we going to get people back? How are we going to get people to feel safe? Because there had been such a campaign out there by the city saying that it was not a safe place to be. So what can we do as a group to get the people back to the conservatory? So we were thrilled that it was reopened.
The Centennial Botanical Conservatory is a hidden gem in Thunder Bay. Located at 1601 D Street, it houses flowering plants, shrubs, and trees from around the world, as well as many outdoor gardens. The Friends of the Conservatory is a volunteer organization that was created with the goal of encouraging the community to visit and appreciate the beauty of the conservatory. Kathleen Ott is the chairperson for the Friends of the Conservatory, and she loves that the conservatory is now considered a vibrant part of the community.
I was here on Friday and we were building the gardens, and there was people all over the place just enjoying every aspect of the conservatory, and that's really what we wanted to see. It's just so wonderful to see people here all the time, and the place looks amazing. It's so beautiful here.
The city's flower beds, along with other greenery, may be contracted out this year as budget cuts could hit the greenhouses at the local conservatory. City staff say the greenhouses are past the point of repair. One option is proposing a cut of $9,000 for staffing at the facilities next year, followed by demolition of the greenhouses. There are potential plans to replace them in 2017, but officials with the Friends of the Conservatory group are not holding their breath. One avenue for funding is a Canada 150 grant, but it's not a sure thing. City Councillor Shelby Chung says there may also be a way to get the resources needed through the federal government in order to keep the greenhouses open.
I still haven't received any official confirmation from Don Rusnick's office. I know he's been looking into it. I do pester him often about it. He says, you know what, if we don't get the Canada 150, there are a number of other avenues, because quite honestly, the federal government is looking to spend money.
I can see things suffering because of this change. It might be just a little change to somebody at City Hall, but I think it's a very big change for the conservatory.
Other options for cuts to the conservatory and greenhouse's budget could reach $30,000 in the years to come.
Despite the plans to demolish and rebuild the greenhouses, nothing actually materialized, and the greenhouses that were said to be in such a state of disrepair still stand as is today.
Yes, the city hired a group to come through and analyze the greenhouses in the back, and they claimed that they were condemned. However, the same group was hired again this summer, and they reported that they are now in fair shape. So they went from condemned to good. Go figure.
Were you here when the city said they were going to tear down the greenhouse in 2016?
I was here. I was hired in 2013. I've often said that I think I was hired partially because I was the guy that they wanted to tear down the greenhouses, to move it forward. I'm a forester. I came out of industry, a little bit more of a big picture forester than what an urban forestry normally would be. And the conservatory was given to me under my portfolio along with all its problems and issues. I quickly realized that this is a pretty unique sort of a facility, and I did not get on board with tearing it down.
The costs of rebuilding the conservatory are estimated to be between $2 and $3 million, which made me wonder about some of the ways the city could come up with that money, and when had we actually applied for provincial and federal funding for it in the past?
Well, our only two sources are tax revenues or grants. That's it. That's really what it comes down to do major capital work.
Well, it's the same way it always happens, right? You have limited options as a municipality in terms of your revenue streams. So you have tax base, you have grants and investment programs from senior levels of government, and you have user fees. And primarily that's what you have as being available to you. Currently or historically, user fees have never been part of the conservatory access, I don't believe. Some people have suggested that maybe that's a way to help maintain the building. And so really you have limited options when it comes to the financial piece of supporting your municipal infrastructure.
Fast forward to today, and a consultant's report has recommended that the conservatory be shut down along with a list of other city facilities and services. Although that does not necessarily mean that the fate of these programs is sealed, it once again puts the long-term future of the conservatory into question.
Well, we'll be debating it in September, and I supported and moved the resolution to have this report brought forward for a couple of reasons. One, I think we have several new councillors, including me, who are part of city administration at this point, and it was important that we just get a bit of a snapshot of what we have, what we support through our taxes in the city of Thunder Bay for the new people. And so one of the reasons I moved the resolution to ask for the program and services review was to bring us to this point. And now this council, and we haven't had one of these program and services reviews for a very long time, now this council can decide what they see as having value or what they see as perhaps that they don't want to maintain through a tax-supported means.
It's not, I'll be the first person to say, let it go, there are better options. No. The event center, I spoke against it from day one. Once I had a chance to review the business plan, it wasn't a good project for the city of Thunder Bay. We spent $4.5 million unnecessarily, but we could have built 2 conservatories, not 1. Fixed it up to its full potential instead of wasting money on a project that wasn't viable from day one. That's where the waste of taxpayers' dollars drives citizens and taxpayers crazy. And I hear it all the time. And that's why you got people complaining and disconnected. That's why you lose the credibility as an elected official. Until we communicate openly, understand each other, and you want to know what the priority is? Have a referendum. Have a referendum on the soccerplex. Have a referendum on the conservatory. I bet you conservatory will win hands down against any other project. Let the people speak, and then you'll know where your priorities should be.
my name is Robert Scott. I'm the Emerald Ash Borer Services Coordinator. I'm an intern as well as the coordinator of the invasive plant management strategy. We're hoping that by removing the invasive plants, we can reduce the what's called the seed banks. So the seed bank is basically all of those invasive plants that produce prolific amounts of seeds. Those get stored in the soil and will germinate after all of the plants have been removed. So you kind of have to go back year after year and continually remove those plants because there are still seeds in the soil. So once that seed bank is depleted, hopefully there will be no more of those invasive plants unless they come in from an external source.
Today, the conservatory employees are working on an area alongside McVickers Creek, seeking out the invasive plants and removing them from the area. This is just another service that the conservatory staff provide to the city of Thunder Bay that is a great benefit to our environment and stunts the long-term damage these species will have in our community.
So additionally, what we do is we've been tackling invasive species that have shown their faces in Thunder Bay. The one currently we're looking at is Himalayan balsam, and with our expertise and experience, we're able to identify the invasive species, and we also know how to correctly cut and dispose of those so they don't grow and reseed, and we can actually put an end product to it.
So depending on what the invasive plant is, ultimately they grow in ways that are a nuisance and damaging to a site. And normally they're not what's called a native species, which is sort of endemic to an area in that it's always been here, everything else has evolved with it in its presence, and it's adapted to this climate.
Invasive species can damage the growth of other native plants within a given area if not properly managed. Sometimes these effects can be catastrophic. There are also health and safety concerns that the average citizen may not be aware of.
There's invasive plants that produce a photoactive chemical so that if UV light hits it, sunlight hits it, it causes severe burns. There's other ones that can damage infrastructure by breaking concrete. Other ones, like the more common Himalayan balsam, has such a small and shallow root system that when it dies at the end of the year, it actually increases soil erosion, which can damage streams, and it can also damage infrastructure that's next to those water courses.
How does the conservatory in particular assist or help with those goals outlined by you?
The conservatory staff is generally very knowledgeable in terms of plants in both identification, management, and care. So we're utilizing those staff to manage the plants in terms of mowing, pulling, spraying herbicides. That's one avenue, and then the other avenue is the conservatory can actually produce native plants that will be used in remediation and restoring an area that had invasive plants.
But there is yet another project brought on by city administration that the conservatory is involved in. In addition to their regular duties, the conservatory is also growing and planting flowers for the LID or low impact development projects. You may see these projects around town, but most notably in front of the community auditorium.
So our staff have taken over planting the low impact development beds. They are those stormwater beds you see out front of DNR Sporting Goods now, is one of the ones. Their purpose is to catch sediment in stormwater before it goes into the sewers and directly out to Lake Superior. Our staff have shown they can not only do it considerably cheaper than the contractor can put it in, they can maintain the plants, and they grow a larger 2-year-old plant to go in there to take the abuse that the stormwater puts it through, needing less maintenance to keep up. This is something that positively impacts the environment, and our staff can do nice and cheap.
So the idea with LIDs is to slow down that movement of water, retain it so that it doesn't end up in the river, which could increase flooding, and then also filter it to some degree.
There are several locations around Thunder Bay that these flower beds are being planted, and the conservatory has shown that they can produce these flowers at a very low cost to the taxpayer. However, unfortunately, the conservatory is forced to struggle with the fact that they don't have some of the tools that they need in order to keep up with the city's demand for these LID flowers.
So last year we went to council with the ask to replace the coal frame in the back in order to enhance and provide more services to the city of Thunder Bay and to increase our participation in the low impact development projects.
We looked at the contracts, and the bids range from $40,000 all the way up to $90,000 per individual contract. When I looked at it, I figured that I would be able to fill each contract for around $10,000. Planting and maintaining afterwards was included in that $10,000 cost per contract.
In order to do that, we had to have a larger coal frame. The old coal frame is falling apart in the back. It's not efficient. We have to rebuild it regardless, but as a result, the council turned us down on the coal frame. When council deferred the decision on replacing the greenhouse so that they could understand more what was going on, and with the Grant Thornton services review coming in, we had already committed to growing the LID plants, and of course, our plant order goes in, our planning stages start shortly for the next year. Our plant order goes in normally starting in October, November, that's when we start. By the time we'd gone to council, we'd already gone down the path, so we were committed to providing the services for the LIDs.
We had no place to put the LID plants, which we had already ordered. I went and I asked a nursery here in town how much it would cost to rent their greenhouse for a month to put my LID plants in. And they quoted me a cost of $50,000.
$48,000 of that was storage, $2,000 of that was transportation to and from here.
The plants would need to be in there for at least 2 months, so the cost would be $100,000.
So that was a bit of a surprise to us. We can replace the coal frame in the back for, I believe it's up to $75,000 right now.
The city needs to invest in us, help us with the repairs, and give us the tools we need. We produce a better product at a fraction of the price, and the initial investment will be repaid back and then some in time.
The greenhouse operations that are here were put in 1967 and again in 1969. They've been here for 50 years. So if we were to use that same argument, we've had 50 years of contributing back into the city. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many millions of dollars that we have contributed back into the city for plants that go out annually.
What's the argument against the city of Thunder Bay outsourcing flowers? What do you say to someone who says we can just pay someone else to do what the conservatory does?
Well, the city could outsource the flowers. I don't believe that there's contractors available right now, but that's something that the city would have to go out for a request for interest to see if that is. That question has come up at least 3 times in the past, and every time it's come up, there's a study that goes out, and it comes back that the local greenhouses don't have the capacity, that they would have to expand in order to meet the requirements of producing the flowers here. The prices have always come back as higher than what we can produce here at the conservatory. But I believe that we produce a superior product for a lower cost because we're not profit driven here. They take a lot of time, a lot of care in growing the plants here. They take a lot of time and a lot of care in putting them out into the gardens. The lead aunt here is an amazing planner. She does a great job, has been given a lot of praise for her display gardens that have gone out. We do a good job here, and we do it at a very low cost, and there's a lot of pride in what we do here.
You could do it. It'll just cost you 3 times as much. That's all. Maybe 4 times as much. I don't think that's a good idea. You go to Hillcrest Park, you go to the parks, and you see these people working, putting the plants in. And if you think it's going to be cheaper by the private sector, that's insane.
There was a study done when the greenhouse issue came up. We did some research of our own. We talked to specifically to Etobicoke because they have a Centennial Conservatory there, the exact same one that we have. And they had looked at outsourcing their plants and their bedding out plants and that for the parks. and it was not feasible. And I think the CBC Thunder Bay actually did an article based on that study. They have explained why it is not feasible, and those same things apply in Thunder Bay. I know when a few years back, when they were looking at outsourcing, and Mike put some feelers out to some of the bigger greenhouses in Thunder Bay, nobody wanted the contract. Nobody had the space or the manpower or the want to even do it. So it's not something that makes much sense at all.
For the amount of people we bring to a job site, we far exceed the amount of work that gets done compared to someone that's just showing up for a paycheck. Our team works very hard, we like each other, and we're all very skilled. So at the end of the day, our jobs get done, they look perfect. It's something we take a lot of pride in. It seems like whenever the city wants to cut anything from their budget, it's either libraries, parks, or the conservatory. These services need to be around to have a healthy community.
I think that voicing our opinions to the residents and having advocates out there is definitely going to help us. I think that council will look to see how many people are willing to use the space and appreciate it.
How does it make you feel when you see such an overwhelming response from the community every single time the question is raised?
Honestly, it really warms my heart to see an overwhelming response so positive each and every time the question is raised. I mean, you ask it enough times and I'm sure they're going to use that one time where people are off guard, but the friends of the conservatory and people who love the conservatory in general have been absolutely relentless in letting the city administration know that this is a place that is well loved in Thunder Bay.
Would you say that you're proud of your community?
Absolutely. Yeah, the amount of just, like, I think the Friends of the Conservatory is one of my favorite, I guess you could call them a political group, but just a volunteer group. They're one of my favorites because they're just so positive and so kind, and they're hardworking and they mean well, and I think they really bring a good cross-section of people together in Thunder Bay, whether you're the poor family that can't afford to, go to Mexico every year with your 3 kids, and you take them to the conservatory every now and then so you could expose them to something different in the wintertime. Or you're maybe a physician that does horticulture on the side, and everybody in between. So it really touches on a number of just different groups and brings people together in Thunder Bay.
I just don't think that a lot of people understand the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes, behind the tropical house at the conservatory. They grow plants for the whole city, all of the parks beds, all of the city hall beds. They supply all the plants for that. For any plants that are needed for invasive species remediation, those are grown here, as well as all the plants that are going into the LIDs.
We have records back from 1992 of them looking at why they should close the conservatory over putting money into it. If they would have started to support that facility in 92 when it started to need it, when it was all of not even 30 years old, we wouldn't be in the situation it's in today where it needs $2.5 million to be up and running. Our employer wants us to believe that indoor soccer turfs are going to be purchased and maintained and cared for, but we have arenas falling apart. We have a conservatory that needs $2.5 million to keep up. We have to show we can care for what we have before we get new things. That's something we learned as little kids. You're not getting new toys if you keep on breaking them.
It's not breaking, it's maintaining the old ones. Okay? I think the city does a poor job of maintaining what we have. Many times I walk around, I take pictures of, you go to the marina, there's some railing that it's rusting away. And I took pictures in the past, sent them in, hire some summer student to give it a paint job here. That's all you need, a couple $100. Don't wait until it's rusted so bad that you have to spend $200,000 to replace it. And by the way, when the city does it, it costs double, triple, just because we got People think we got unlimited funds. No, it's taxpayers' dollars. That part needs to be strengthened. I think we're weak there, and I was hoping that the operational review would highlight that. I haven't gone into that review in detail, but that's an area of weakness that council and mayor should focus on. Maintain what we have. We put a lot of effort into the roads maintenance because $1 invested at the maintenance level will save you $10 when you have to rip up that road and rebuild the base because you let it go for so long. That's not smart use of taxpayers' dollars. You know, the money that went on that High Street wall, stone wall, what it could have been done for $200,000, could have fixed the conservatory. Enough said, right? Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. It's no either or. That could have been done for $250,000, just repointing the stone, not demolish. There was bedrock behind it. Come on. I still get the pictures, anybody wants to see it.
I want to welcome the community's input in this. This is a community decision. We have to hear from our constituents. That includes the friends of the conservatory, but it also includes the community at large. And in order to have valuable input, it takes some time to learn some of the facts surrounding the conservatory, its costs. It will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in operating costs to operate. It will cost millions of dollars to refurbish. Now, these are things that citizens have to weigh moving forward.
I think that there's a science function. My other job is, as I'm a teacher, I'm a science teacher. I have brought classes to the conservatory periodically to learn about plants. This is a real life opportunity, hands-on visual for learning. And so, I think that there is that social benefit. I think there's an economic benefit. I think there's an educational benefit. I think facilities like arenas, like swimming pools, like libraries, like rec centers, like the conservatory are going to be even more important going forward than they ever were in the past. Life needs to be worth living, and you need to be able to have some joy. And these facilities give young, middle-aged, and seniors some joy and pleasure. And I think it is important that people tell others and inform others about how important these things are. And I need to be perfectly frank. Some of these things I will never use. I'm not a hockey player. I'm not a skater. But man, do I ever support them, because I support those who do.
A couple of times I've gone through several months worth of the visitor books, and they're not an accurate indication of how many people come in, because most people don't sign, or they'll put so-and-so and family. Books indicate that we have tourists coming in here from absolutely everywhere around the world, all across Canada, all across the US, and countries absolutely all around the world. It's just phenomenal. And my big thing to City Council is that all of these tourists, and including the people who live in Roslyn and Kakabeka and Nipigon, yes, they may not be paying taxes here, but they're coming into the town and they're spending money here. They're supporting all of the local businesses. So all of these tourists, whether they're coming from 10 miles out of town, outside city limits, or whether they're coming from South Africa, are generating money being spent. Even if they're staying with family, the family's driving them around, putting gas in their car, their family's feeding them. Probably they're taking them shopping and, out to eat.
Well, the Friends of the Conservatory are a great resource for the people of Thunder Bay. They speak to the heart of what Thunder Bay is all about. When you have people who devote a tremendous amount of their time, free time, to do what the city should be doing, they need to be acknowledged, respected, and actually helped. To be fair, elected officials have a multitude of projects and things they have to juggle. That's why, because we can't be everywhere and do it all, when you have a group like that comes forward to help the city, we should be helping them. Whenever I was invited and whenever they needed support, I was more than happy to be there, speak publicly like I'm doing now, even though I'm not on council. I hope those that are listening that appreciate that if I was on council right now, I would still be supporting the Conservatory 100%.
The venue at the Conservatory and its grounds are very well visited. Years ago, we may have had 5 to 10 people a day. Now we get around 100 people a day. When we hold an event, it can be anywhere from 500 to 700 people that will come through on that day. We have put out a lot of picnic tables. We've planted fruit and nut trees. Every day there's families out there having picnics and spending time together. It's nothing like I've ever seen.
Our identity as a city is based on the people who live in it. And to have groups like the Friends of the Conservatory pushing and advocating for an amazing space in our city will change our culture and will change our space. And it's, I think that's what makes a city, are people and groups like that.
Having left Thunder Bay and not having the Conservatory in my life for the past 4 years, there has been a big void. Even though winters are easier here in British Columbia, if I could just take a cup of coffee and go to the Conservatory like I could in Thunder Bay, and like most people in Thunder Bay do, I just wish that city administration and city council would everybody get on the same page, and this thing could be so much more. The potential is limitless, really.
If there's one thing that we know for sure, it's that the people of Thunder Bay will stop at nothing to keep the Conservatory in our community. For years, the future of it has constantly been in question, but doing nothing and letting the facility sit the way it is isn't working anymore. This is not a decision for council, the provincial or federal government. This is a decision for the residents of Thunder Bay. The Conservatory was given to us in 1967 as a gift, our gift, and we failed to take care of it in order for future generations to use it as well. No matter what side you're on, we need to come together as a city and make sure that our voices are heard. We cannot stick with the status quo any longer and revisit the issue every 2 years. So, whatever your opinion is, take action and speak your mind, because doing nothing is not acceptable anymore.